peace, progress, and prosperity. Always remember, you are not alone.
So, moving on, social isolation. So, the preoccupation with the idea of success can lead to social isolation. There's something called FOMO, fear of missing out. And, because there's a lot of things that we see on the internet, there's a lot of stuff that we feel like is going on and we're missing out. We kind of like, oh, okay, let me just go and focus on my career. Oh, they're having a party and I'm not invited. And let me go and focus on my career. And you want to keep working on that project. You want to keep, you want to get that job done. You want to finish that assignment. You want to achieve that project. And you're not paying attention to the time you're spending alone with yourself. You lay it under the guise of, I'm working on myself. I'm working on myself. Bro, yes, you're working on yourself, but you need to get out. Sometimes you actually need to go out, take some fresh air, jog, meet some friends, come back in and get back to work. You don't have to lock yourself in all eternity because you need to get the job done. I'm that kind of person too. I feel like I get distracted a lot by the outside world. So I love having my space where I can stay in my house for like, I've done it before. I've stayed in my room for a whole week. I didn't leave my room. Like, I didn't step out of my door. I was just in my room. I had my kitchen, I had my toilet. All I just did was wake up, enter the shower, read some books, watch some movies, play a few games, do some editing, cook, rinse and repeat for a whole week. And by the time I came out, I felt fresh and renewed. But I'd lost so much contact in the space of that 1 week. I'd lost so much contact with the outside world that it felt like I had a lot of catching up to do on social media and with people in my life. I had a lot of missed calls and messages that I had not responded to. And certain people were worried that I didn't want you, but my phone was online. I just chose to ignore everybody. And I can tell you, it's not healthy because I've discovered that when I'm alone and I'm left to myself, to my thoughts, even if I'm so busy that I don't want to be distracted, that's when some very intrusive thoughts start coming in. And if you start feeding it, it starts manifesting into your reality slowly, because it's like feeding fire with fuel. Like they're there. I'm sure you have them once in a while, but the moment you let it linger on long enough, it's gone. Which then leads to another thing, relationship strain. Imagine I had a girlfriend at that time and I locked myself away in my house for 1 week. And I didn't pick my girlfriend's calls. I didn't text her back. She couldn't reach me. That's going to put a strain on our relationship no matter what. And it's not just your girlfriend intimate relationship. It's your relationship with other people. Maybe your supervisor, people you're working with, your friends, your colleagues, your people that you just know. And you really don't know where they'll be useful for you eventually. So if it feels like this social isolation, keeping yourself away from people, is not as healthy as we practice it. It's a good idea. Getting away from the distraction of the world, setting yourself in a corner, and then picking yourself up. But it becomes so detrimental if we over-practice it to an extent where you are so torn away from the real world that you become established in your own reality that has no connection with the outside world. So by the time you need to get to the outside world, need to get help from the outside world, you are then torn between two worlds, one that you've created for yourself and the one that you originally came from and you're going back to. Another thing is physical health implications. So high levels of stress and anxiety can mess with your physical health internally and then externally. And it could start as little as something as sleep disturbances, headache, digestive problems, and weakened immune function. Just one or two here and there, and then it starts building up. So you think, oh, okay, I'm just having this constant headache for like 1 week now. I've not been able to sleep for a couple of days because of this project I'm working on. And then it keeps accumulating and you keep going and you keep going and you keep going. Eventually, what's going to happen is that it's all going to accumulate. And then when it hits you, you can be hospitalized for like a month or two. So I feel like this particular one I'm about to talk about is it's the one that is most common and the most serious, and that's the fear of failure. A lot of men are scared of failing, and for me, it's more like it has become more like the motivation to keep going. Once I want to do something and I'm scared that it might fail, or I'm scared that it might flop, or it won't turn out well, that's like my cue to do it. I've tried to like wire that into my brain because I've had this mindset that fear is actually a something you conjure up in your mind to give yourself excuses and restraint not to do things. So I don't believe fear is real. I don't believe that fear is a thing. I believe it's just an emotion that humans have over the years have learned to like conjure to like, make make yourself hold yourself back. I mean, take for example, in the old like in the Stone Ages, if you were faced by a saber-tooth tiger, you would have the fear of being eaten alive. Yes, that's something like you can say that's real. The actual fact that you could be eaten alive. But nowadays, most of the fears we face are actually things that we just draw up in our mind and then, put out into the world just to give ourselves excuses to like hold ourselves back. Yes, you can fail. Yes, things can, you can go bankrupt. Things can happen. Yes, these are things that can happen. But that the fact that those things exist shouldn't make you, shouldn't scare you to an extent where you do not even want to do things in the first place. So for me, I feel like fear is just something that we've built up in our heads so that we have an excuse not to do the things that we ought to do. Now, another thing that often happens when we're so focused on chasing our career is loss of joy and passion. You get so carried away in what you're doing, you become so focused on getting it right, you become a perfectionist, you become obsessed with being successful that you lose so much joy and color in your life, and you become so there's no passion driving you anymore. There's just that force, that toxicity, that pressure, that stress. That's what drives you, and that has a very detrimental impact on your mental health. That if you don't pay attention to it early enough, it's something that you might need therapy for years after. So, work-life balance struggle. Why the word struggle? I mean, your work life and your real life. How do you balance it? I mean, I'm sure you must have experienced at some point in your life, you must have experienced this colleague of yours that just seems to have it all together, that is composed. He gets his job done in time, his work is good, they hardly have any corrections. And the guy shows up early, he shows up neat, he shows up ready to go, he shows up motivated, and he just generally seems to have it all together. And you're asking yourself, how this guy did do it? What is this guy doing that I cannot do or that I'm not doing? And you're wondering, like, we do the same job, but this guy just seems to be more centered and grounded than I am. What is he doing, or what am I doing differently? So there are certain things that makes your work life and your real life sort of balance. I personally don't believe in balance because I believe one has to outweigh the other, and that's the way the world is. So I believe there's a way you can kind of string both along so that you're not leaning too much on one side, and the side that you're leaning on is not, taking a lot of toll on you that you don't even pay attention to the other. I don't believe it can be 50-50, so to speak. I mean, people will tell you that it can be 50-50, but my personal opinion is it can't be 50-50. One has to take more attention than the other, but you have to do it in a way that the one that isn't getting enough attention doesn't suffer. So there are certain things that you can do. One of them is setting clear boundaries. Don't take your work home, no matter what it is. I don't take my work home. I had a supervisor that didn't like me because of this, and I felt like, yeah, that was her style. She would always take her work home, get home and do her work, and then she can show up to work the next day with a different mood. And I'm like, what is wrong with this woman? I don't take my work home. Once I can't finish it in the office, I leave it in the office. I come back to it the next day. I'm sorry. You're paying for my 9 to 5. You're not paying for my time after work. And you can say, oh, that's a lazy kind of this thing. You're not an entrepreneur. It's because it's not your business. Well, yes, true. Maybe some of those things. But I feel like for me to be the best I can be, at your job, at your work that you're paying me for, I also need time for self-development. There's no way I can put in my best at work if my personal life is lacking. And I feel like this some of the things that affects you at work. If your life personally, if you're not balanced personally as a person, as an individual, if you're not balanced, if you're not well taken care of, if you're not solid, grounded, your professional life is going to suffer because you're going to bring your work, your home, your personal life, you're going to bring it to work. And then you're going to take your work home. And then you start struggling in between both. So you need to set clear boundaries between your work and your personal life. During work hours, don't take personal calls. Don't take personal time. Use your work hours for work. And when you're done, use your personal time for yourself. I mean, there was a time I had, like, my supervisor told me we need to have a meeting, blah, 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 this Saturday. I said, I won't be available. She said, why? I said, this Saturday, it's weekend. She was like, yeah, where? Because just, I said, where? I will not be available. Because small wahala, but I made that point that my weekend is my weekend. Don't bring work to my weekend. If you can't have that meeting 12 p.m. Friday afternoon, take it to Monday. Don't stress my life. I'm sorry. So some people kind of like take it personal, like, oh, no, this has to get done. Yeah, I'm like that too. The job has to get done. But you also have to pay attention to your personal life. You have to care for your personal life. Otherwise, eventually you're going to pay for it. You're going to suffer for it. Now, you need to prioritize your self-care. I personally have this thing. The better I look, the better I feel. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. If I'm out of the house and I'm not well dressed, or I feel like maybe something is missing, or I'm not looking as good as I want to, it kind of affects my psyche. I start feeling very, very self-conscious. I start feeling like, okay, I don't feel balanced. I don't feel engaged. And it might be as little as my fingernails. Like, how do my hands look? Is there dirt under my nails? Like, it's very, very, very important to me. And I feel like it's some of the things that affect men. You see some men, like, they just show up like they are going through things. No, like, their hair is unkempt, the face looks rough, their clothing is out of it, the shoes are, and you're wondering what is going on with this man. And the man himself is acting like what he looks like. He's acting like, okay, he's going through things, and he looks like he's going through things. I feel like the more you personalize your self-care, the more you take your self-care seriously and prioritize it, it's going to help your mental health too. Like, you know that, okay, I'm not looking like what I'm going through. Even if I'm going through a million things, I still look like I'm $1,000,000. That for me is important. So you need to prioritize your self-care. Also, you need to unplug regularly. Like, no matter what you are doing in this life, no matter the amount of work, no matter the pressure, no matter what you're doing, sometimes you need to just take some time, like, leave everything behind and take a personal day. Like, you don't even have to do anything serious. It could just be you lay in bed, eat, sleep, watch a movie, read a book, wake up, pick it up. It can be as simple as that. You need time to, like, get away from all the pressure. It is very, 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 very important to your mental health. You also need to learn to delegate. These are some of the things these are pointers that help you balance your work and your personal life. You need to look, there are some things that you don't have to do yourself. Yes, they say if you want something done, stand up and get it done. I'm that kind of person too. I like to get my hands, like, I like to roll up my sleeves and get my hands dirty. Like, I like to be doing myself. If I see it's not getting done, I will get up, no matter how mundane or little the task is. But you see, eventually, you tend to lose focus on the things that really matter. The things that you actually should focus on, the things that you actually should pay attention to. You tend to, like, shift away from them and pay attention to those things that you could actually delegate. And it's a leadership skill. It's some of the things that leaders learn very early, the ability to delegate. So you have to gauge it. What's the value of me doing this thing? How important is it that I do it myself? What do I get in return? If I pawn it off to someone else to do it, is it going to affect, the bigger picture? How does it help? If you can answer all these questions and you realize that, this thing, no be by force, maybe say now you do it, and I find somebody who can be responsible and you can hold accountable for it. Just give it to someone that you believe or that you feel is responsible and you can hold accountable, and get on to the more important things. Now, time management. This is a skill that I'm beginning to learn slowly. I'm beginning to learn to manage my time. Oh, so I want to watch a movie. But I also want to do something else. I want to edit this video. So how am I going to do it? Let me watch 30 minutes of this movie, edit 30 minutes of this video, then come back, watch the remaining 30 minutes of this movie, then come back and edit the remaining 30 minutes of this video. Wallahi, it works, my brother. Try it. So you want to do something, but you don't feel that motivation to do it. Reward yourself first and get to the job. It works for me. It may not work for you like that, but it works for me. Okay, so I have a video to edit. I have something I have to do. I have an application to fill, and I'm not feeling up to it. And I'm like, okay, what can get my juices rolling? So I play game for 30 minutes. And then I play the game, and I'm like, and then I feel like, oh, okay, I've had fun. 30 minutes. But now let me do the job that I'm supposed to do. Even if I'm still not feeling up to it, I guilt trip myself and tell myself, you've rewarded yourself with 30 minutes of enjoyment and game, or 30 minutes of movie, or 30 minutes of chit chat or Instagram. Now it's time to get the job done. So that way I kind of like force myself into work mode, even if I'm not feeling it. So you need to learn to manage your time. Okay, I want to do this. Plan your day. This is what I want to do today. Even if it's just 3 items: wash my clothes, clean my room, and write the script for 1 episode of Brother's Keeper. Okay, so which do I start with? I think the easiest is to clean my room. Let me clean my room. I do that. Let me chill for like 30 minutes. Just faff around on Instagram, look at reels, read some comments on Today and Not. And then now let me get back to washing my clothes. Wash my clothes, listen to music. After that, I'm like, oh, so now I have to write that episode. What do I need to do? Let me just watch a few YouTube videos for like 30, 40 minutes. Before you know it, more than half of the day is gone. And I've done 2 out of 3 tasks. So you can't, if you pressurize yourself and tell you, oh, I have this long list of things to do, and you're like, oh God, you will become overwhelmed even before you get started. So take it off chunks and bits by bit. So there's a lot of tasks for you to do in the office. How do you get to it? So, okay, which one is the most important? Which one is the easiest? Draw a list of priorities and look at, okay, which one do I have to get to first? Which one requires most attention? Which one requires most energy? And then get to it. Even if you have to reward yourself with 30 minutes break in between, do that break, but make sure that the job gets done. So that way, you're managing your time and your effort at the same time. Now, you also need to learn to say no. Like, that is one of the things that killed me early in my life. The ability, to say no. I didn't have it. I didn't know how to tell people no. Sometimes you have to be selfish. Everybody's selfish at some point in their life. Sometimes you have to be selfish with your mental health, your space, your life, your finances. Basically, sometimes you have to be selfish. You need to learn to tell people no. No vex. It's not about you. It's about me. I'm not feeling up to the task. So if they bring a job in the office and they're like, we need somebody to volunteer, tell your supervisor, the one that you gave me, I'm still swamped with it. I've not found a way forward. So if you give me this one, I'll become overwhelmed. Your supervisor safe now, human being. Your boss too is a human being. He knows that, okay, there's a limit to the things that even he can achieve. So don't listen to all those people at your workplace that'll tell you, no, you have to be this. I had my own boss one time that'll tell me that, no, like, pick this one, do it, move on to the next, do it. That's how we know that your career is moving, this, that. On a lie, they find we go give work, we go treat. And the truth is, Yorubas would have a say, like the life expectancy of your job is longer than your life expectancy. Like, you die, the job continues. Like, the job, in fact, the moment you're dead, the person in charge of the task start thinking, who is going to pick up this tab? Who is going to finish this job? That's the first thing that person is thinking, because to that person, the job is priority, not your life. So you need to know that if you die, the job continues. So don't let that job kill you. Learn to say no. Tell them that, no, you have a lot on your table and you do not feel up to the task. They might feel like, oh, it's complacent. Oh, he doesn't want to work. Oh, it isn't. Eventually, my brother, what matters most is your life, not the job. The job isn't yours. You're being paid for the job. That's if you're a 9-to-5 employee. And if it's your personal job, if say you're an entrepreneur and it's your job, look, you're going to be working for yourself most of your life. So why do you want to die young by overworking yourself? It's going to reflect on your mental health and your physical health as time goes on. So learn to say no to certain things, not just work. Maybe social gatherings that don't add value to your life. It's part of it. Learn to say no, my brother.